much from our children. So I'm sure all of y'all have got a very nice idea of why early childhood experiences matter so much. And I explained it to you that, babies are, when we are born, our brains are not fully developed. And I want you to think about it like a bit like building a house. The architectural blueprint may give a house its shape, but what it's made of, it depends on what it's made of, the straw, wood, or brick, that would give it very strong foundations. In the same way, our genetics gives us a blueprint for our brain structure, but all our experiences will shape it. So our thought, our actions, our emotions, those are the things that influence it. So I want to put it all together and say that when—
Dr. Bala?
Yes?
So sorry to interrupt you. We have been receiving a lot of questions in the chat box and otherwise as well. So I just wanted to let you know that we want to start taking those questions in another 10-15 minutes. So just wanted to let you know. So sorry.
Great. This is good timing. I'm nearly done. I'm trying to answer your questions too. So putting it all together, you can see over here, if the child was feeling very nurtured, they're going to have a very strong, well-built green network, and that would be their go-to. So it'd be easier to self-soothe this child. If the child has not been, has experienced a lot of blaming, shaming, and things like that, then we have basically shaped their yellow circuit very strong. And it's going to be a challenge getting that child to self-regulate. And if we have, the child has felt very threatened, and why do they feel threatened is when they don't feel loved or when they don't feel understood, then it's going to be their red pathway, which is going to be like their superhighway. And these children are the ones who are very difficult to soothe or to get self-regulation skills, because that's just what was shaped when they were growing up. So to help kids learn effective emotional control, parents can work to adopt better emotional regulation strategies themselves, model positive emotions and emotional regulation, expose kids to positive environments and people who show that, good self-regulation skills. And very, very, very important is schedule free interactive play into the daily schedule. Nowadays, children are so overstructured. They have so many things to do that we've forgotten about play skills. And free play is very important. I could give a 5-day lecture on that, but if your child is not getting enough play, give them play, and that would be really good. So learning positive behavior management is a very good skill for all caregivers to have. So their play is very important. Different types of plays there, we could do that. We could always expose them to that. And the way we give our feedback to our children and when we're shaping them, it's very important. I wish I knew this when my children were growing up. And it's how you give them feedback when they're misbehaving. So one is we've got to first validate their feelings. Then we set boundaries, give them choices, and encourage the process and not the outcome. So given some examples, if you have, I'll give you a situation, and instead of saying what most people say, and then try what you're doing. So Radha cries to you, she comes to you because Meera's hit her back. And usually the response would be, that's what happens when you hurt. You get hurt back. So I can see the response, you should try, and just try this and see if this works. And it is, you can say, I can see you are upset. So that's where you're validating that they are feeling something. And then you can say your boundary, the rule in this house is no hitting. And then you can give them the option. You can say, you can go to your safe corner, or you could practice your breathing. So hopefully, you are teaching your child these skills, and you can say, you can breathe in, you can give them a cue and say, breathe in, their favorite cookie or whatever, or a flower, and breathe out your anger. Take your anger out. And then let them, give them the option of saying, if you can't do it, you can do it with me. And then whenever you're ready, you can go back to play. Another is if there's a child, Arjun uses bad language and directs it at you. So usually sometimes I find that teachers may say, do you want to get kicked out of the school like you got kicked out of your last school? Instead, if you try and say, you look mad, we don't use those kinds of words in our family. And instead of, say, give them the choice, do 10 jumping jacks or 10 push-ups. It's a physical activity, so it's going to reset their nervous system, and it's going to have all the feel-good neurotransmitters flooding them. So it's a very good punishment to give them because it's actually helping their body reset. If you have another situation where Maya gets anxious during transitions and starts to toss things about in her classroom, and the usual reaction is go sit by yourself in the thinking chair. I'm tired of you breaking your things. That doesn't help the child reset at all. She's going to feel even more isolated. So it would be so much more better and so much more effective if the teacher or whoever the caregiver says, Maya, come on over here and sit next to me, and that'll make you feel safe. You can always talk about what needs to be done later when the child is calmed down, but not at that time. And then this happens sometimes too, where one child bites another child. So Rahul bites Anjani, and usually if you don't know about how the nervous system works, maybe you would say, nobody likes bad boys, Rahul. But it'd be so much more better if you could try and say, let's get ice for Anjani. You stay by myself so everyone feels safe this morning. And then later on, when the child is calm, you can talk to the child about what needs to be done. So I just wanted to say some important skills to teach children. I find that when I'm working with children with ADHD especially, they just cannot accept failure at all. So let them view failing favorably. Failing is an opportunity. Let them look at it as it's an opportunity to explore other possibilities, solutions, and resources. Failure is a stepping stone to success. If it is a failure only if you don't learn anything from it. That's when I say you're falling backwards. I got this from Denzel Washington. He was like, when you fall backwards, you're moving away from your goal. But when you fall forward, you're learning. I would say that when you learn, you're falling forward and you're a little bit closer to your goal. So it's very important. This skill, that failing is, it's a part of success. I don't think it's the opposite of success. It is a part of success, and we're getting closer to our goals. So I really feel very strongly, I had said this earlier too, every child deserves a champion, an adult who will never give up on them, who understands the power of connection to make them feel safe and supported at all times. It's very, very, very important. So I'm going to conclude with some final thoughts on, the takeaways I hear. I think you all already have all the takeaways, understanding what our emotions do for us, what's their function, and then how we can control it. The most important thing that I want all of y'all to really take away is, do we have control over our emotions, or do our emotions have control over us? We all have that. We have the choice. We can change. We can reset our brains, but we need to know how to do it. Parental modeling is the #1 way to teach children self-regulation. Emotional regulation in children comes from emotional regulations in the parents and all the caregivers, and actually everyone who is within their close physical proximity. One of the 2 easiest things you can do is just let them play outside, and the modeling. Those 2 things are very important. There are lots of other things that we can do, but if these 2 things are in place, all the others work a lot more effectively and efficiently. So final thoughts on emotional regulation. So if the information on helping children develop self-regulation feels heavy, it is. It is a reminder that our jobs as parents and caregivers and professionals and therapists who are working with children, who have children in our care, that it's paramount what we do with them in shaping the future of our children. However, none of us can provide a perfect home genetics or modeling. Expecting perfection from ourselves may actually increase tension and negativity. We definitely don't want to be there. So all of us be gentle on ourselves. We are learning too. The fact that you are even aware that you have to change something, I think is 90% of the battle is won. What we need to do is keep working on our own emotional muscles. I have learned so much about stress management and I'm learning every day. So it's a process. Please don't be hard on yourself. The one thing that you'll have, which is the most precious, is you love your children. And that is the most important thing. So you already have that. You just have to add to your skill sets. So we need to just keep working on it and create a very supportive environment. It's never too late to start. So take a deep breath, accept yourself and your family for where you are in the process and dive in. It's well worth the effort. Thank you so much for listening to me.